Here's an example of what is possible. The compassing is being done here. There's a glare on the stars, and the background is black. So here's the Blender file with the geometry nodes. I'll post it on my Google Drive. I set the background to be black, and I can set the transparency, make it transparent if I want. So I start with a plane, a simple plane on the XY plane at the origin. Here's the diagram. The green noodle shows the geometry being modified. So the points are being modified. So I start off with the transform. So the plane can go up and down, rotating. But I leave the scaling to 1 in the X direction. But the Y I do scale 3.5 to 5, say. So the stars that are near will be bigger in size. And the rotating in the Z direction can be useful as well. Now I make points, many points with a subdivide surface. And then a set position allows the modifying of the points. The green noodle shows the path where the points are being modified. Now on each point I put an instance. So I'll use a icosphere for an instance and plug it in this input slot. That creates the icospheres, a small number of them. So I increase the number with the level. And I make the radius as small as I possibly can, 0.01. So I have a lot of points lying on the XY plane. I can scale the size of the icospheres with a value. So that's one way of doing it. But I delete that and I use a math node to create a value. I'm multiplying 1 times a value. So that will give me a star diameter. And I plug it into the group input and I change the name value to something more reasonable, like star diameter. I check what names I used. So star diameter will be a setting that I can change. I add a noise texture so there is a randomness position of the points. I can see the plane now. I can see the surface. I add a noise texture. The position gives me the position of the points. I want it to be random. So a vector math. I'm changing the position of the points by plugging it into position. And I am randomly changing the position of the points, but in every direction. I want to limit the changing in just the Z direction. That can be done with a combine XYZ. That limits the change in just the Z direction. And now you see that the points are going up and down in the Z, but I need to control it better. So I use the math node, and with a multiply I can change the Z value the Z position can be modified. Now I look at the points that I've created. And they are now like in a rectangular box. I find with a math add, you have more flexibility choosing what Z value. With a negative add, I can bring the star field down closer to the XY plane. And the scaling in the X direction can make it fill the camera view. Now I can limit the selection, and that can be useful as well. I separate X, Y, Z. We'll select the positive Z positions. If I plug that in, you won't see any difference because the positive XY, the positive Z values are being shown. So I do some math to limit the Z values. You see that the Z is changing, so I make it a setting for the input. I call it the horizontal line. Set material allows me to put a bright white color to the star. So part 2 is available. It will show some examples of what is possible. And the file is available to download.